Good morning, friends. This is my 273rd video, and this video will be on the Constitution of India 1935 by the British regime. Now, what does List 1, Union List, or the Federal List 1 in Entry 3, Subpart 2 entry, delimitation of cantonments? Areas, local self government in such areas, the constitution and powers within such areas of cantonment, authorities, and the regulation of House Accommodation Act, including the control of rents in such area, naval, military, and air force works, local self government in cantonment areas, the constitution and powers within such area of cantonment authorities, the regulation of house accommodation in such area and the delimitation of such areas. Entry 32 and entry 10, property of union and the revenue therefrom, but as regards property situated in a state subject to legislation by the state, save in so far as Parliament by law otherwise provides works, lands, and buildings vested in or in the possession of His Majesty for the purpose of the dominion, not being naval, military, or air force works, but as regards property situated in a province, subject always to province legislation, save in so far as dominion laws otherwise provides, and as regard property in any exceeding state held by virtue of any lease or agreement with that state, subject to the terms of that lease or agreement. Now, in entry 43, incorporation, regulations, and winding up of trading corporation, including banking, insurance, and financial corporations, but not including cooperative societies. Entry 43 oblique 33, incorporation, regulation, and winding up of corporations, whether trading or not, with objects not confined to one state but including universities, corporations, that is to say, the incorporation, regulation, and winding up of trading corporations, including banking, insurance, and financial corporations, but not including corporations owned or controlled by any exceeding state and carrying on business only within that state, or cooperative societies and of corporations, whether trading or not, with objects not confined to one unit but not including universities. So, friends, these were the lists given in the Union of India list. Now, what does list 2, which is the state list or the provincial list, says? Now, if we read entry 18 or entry 21, land, that is to say, rights in or over land, land tenures, including the relation of landlord and tenant, and the collection of rents, transfer, and alienation of agriculture land, land improvement and agriculture loans, colonization, land, that is to say, rights in or over land, land tenures, including the relation of a landlord and tenant, and the collection of rents, transfer, alienation, and devolution of agriculture lands, land improvement and agriculture loans, colonization, court of wards, incumbent and attached estates, treasurers, troves. Now, these were made a part of the state subject. Now, what does the concurrent list 3 say? Now, this is very important. Entry 5 as well as in entry 7. This covers marriages and divorce, infants and minors, adoptions, will, intestacies and successions, joint family and partitions, all matters in respect of which parties in judicial proceedings were immediately before the commencement of this constitution subject to their personal laws, will, intestacies, and succession, save as regard agricultural land. Now, entry 3, transfer of property other than agricultural land, registration of deeds and documents, transfer of property other than agricultural land, registration of deeds and documents. Entry 7 oblique 10, contracts including partnership, agencies, contracts of carriage, and other special forms of contracts, but not including contracts relating to agricultural land. Contracts including partnership, agencies, contracts of carriage, and other special forms of contract, but not including contracts relating to agricultural land. See, why am I briefing all this? You know, the courts have been always taking us under section entry 32 of the Government of India Act 1935. Now, what does it state? One thing one has to make it clear at the outset. The present argument which I'm trying to make may not have been open to the appellant if the premises of the bank could be said to be the premises belonging to the Union of Commerce. In this case, the legislation, to the extent it governs such premises, can be said to fall under entry 32 of list 1 as one covering the property of union. So this was a case of landlord and tenant relation. Now, this Supreme Court interpreted and it read out because the lease agreement was made prior to the constitution or the independence. So, whether this property was a Union of India property as per the uh, Constitution Act 1935, or whether it fell in the uh, list 2. Now, he says, had it been a Government of India or a Union of India property, it would have fallen in list 1. And under entry 32, I would have taken this condition to what the court interpreted, the relation between the landlord and the tenant. We are subjected to the Union of India list in 1935. I will further read the Constitution of India. Why am I comparing? Because this video will make you and your advocates realize what is the difference between 1935 Constitution of India or Constitution of India 1950. That is why I keep seeking and asking whether the Constitution of India is retrospectively giving us any relief, or does it subject us to the Constitution of India 1935. So, friends, these were those judgments on constitutional benches, 7 judges which I have, which have interpreted in 1950 after the constitution. It took us back to entry 32, list 1 of 1935. So, where are we? What will we plead? Our pleading is to be very importantly governed. We have to minutely see what are we pleading. Are we indirectly admitting things? Because if we don't plead, we don't make an issue. If no issue, no relief or benefit. So please, that is why I read today the Constitution of 1935, which may be called the Government of India Act. Please understand this. Why am I saying this? Why House Accommodation Act videos for the first time I gave you? Because now I'm going to interpret this fact that if your in my bungalow falls under House Accommodation Act, how is it governed? Which part of the constitution or the list governs it? And what is the relation of a landlord and a tenant? And does the applicability after this passing of the act and its applicability on my bungalow, my estate, does Cantonment Act 1924 or further on be applicable on me? Friends, once again, we were old grants, we were revenue free grants, never converted into new grants of the British. Thank you. Good day.